This is Rosie Herbert. Rosie is 17 years old and lives here in Eastbourne with parents Mike and Paula, older brother William and her younger sister Grace. Rosie is one of a small number of people in the UK who suffer from a rare intestinal condition for which there is no cure. Her condition is termed Gastro-Intestinal Pseudo Obstruction.
Gastro-intestinal pseudo obstruction varies really. You can have it of the intestine or you can have it of your whole digestive tract. Kaylee and I have it of the whole digestive tract, and basically what it means is that your intestine mimics an obstruction. However, when they x-ray or scan you, there's actually no physical obstruction.
I think we would have to say that pseudo-obstruction is a very difficult condition. It's very difficult for patients. Even if the symptoms caused by it were easier to deal with, the fact that doctors are operating at a substantial level of ignorance makes it tricky for patients and their doctors.
The expression pseudo-obstruction is used to describe the disorder because patients have symptoms usually associated with an obstruction somewhere in the digestive tract, and yet X-rays show no physical obstruction. Spending much of her life in and out of hospital, Rosie has made numerous friends, all in varying stages of debilitating illness. One of Rosie's best friends is 19-year-old Kaylee, who also suffers from intestinal pseudo-obstruction. Kaylee's condition is far more severe than Rosie's, and her future is uncertain. Due to her level of illness, Kaylee has been unable to actively contribute to this film.
I was about 6 when I first started being sick, and it just basically started out as what we thought was a bug, and ever since then really I've been having like bad attacks every day.
There's a family firework party. It was really good, the whole family there, all out in this huge garden, and all of a sudden she said, I don't feel very well. And the colour, I mean, they joke about it in cartoons, people going green, don't they? She actually went green and she started being sick, and then she just continued. Nobody had seen a child be sick so much. And it was 2.5 hours journey home, and we just had this glass saucepan in the back of the car, didn't we? And we kept having to stop to empty the saucepan for 2.5 hours, and that was the start of it. It just, every sort of other week from then on.
I was just projectile vomiting, and it lasted about 2 hours, and that was before I had any diagnosis at all, so it was kind of really hard to deal with at the time. We were just desperate for a diagnosis.
We just thought it was a bug to start with and that she wasn't getting over it. Yeah. And then as it continued, we just thought something's not right. It can't be right for a child to have stomach pains and blood tests to be normal and x-rays to be normal, and it just went on forever and ever.
Yeah, certainly seemed to.
And the more you fought, the more they would say, well, maybe it's because you've got a problem as well. It's not just Rosie having a problem, maybe it's you. And then you start to actually think, well, maybe I have got a problem.
Sufferers of intestinal pseudo-obstruction are unable to eat normally due to symptoms that include pain, vomiting, abdominal distension, constipation and diarrhoea.
Because I've got the complication of having cyclical vomiting as well, it's a lot harder to kind of pin down and get under control. At the moment I take about 20-30 different medications a day, which consist of antiemetics, antispasmodics, antiacid, obviously like laxatives and painkillers. So it's better than it was in regards to the amount of medication I take, but that's because they've probably found the ones that are working best for me at the moment, but that could change at any time.
It also depends on the medications and if they're on total parental feeding, because that causes complications as well. Sometimes it's the complications and not the illness itself that make matters worse, or if they get septic or anything like that, and they get liver damage and things. So it is every individual and what their treatment is that causes the complications or keeps them going or whatever.
Today we had a barbecue, and it was the first Saturday I've spent at home in a while. So it was a really nice evening, but I had an average portion of that of an average person. And this is what it did to my belly. If I can just get up and show you. Now that is a belly of what? A 6-month pregnant woman?
She can be really quite well and chirpy in the morning, and come sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon she's throwing up, she's got a migraine, her feet are blue, and she's crying out in pain. Other times it's the other way round, she's up all night being sick, or she can go a whole week and we think, right, hang on a minute, she's been too well for too long.
Yeah, suddenly all hell breaks loose. Yeah.
I do have a portacath, which is it's basically a little implant which is in my side, and whoever's like with me, only my mum and Jake know how to access it, and what they do when I'm really bad is just put a needle into it, and that can stay in for a week. It's not the best treatment in the world, because obviously if I'm sick and those two aren't around, there's no one else to do it. But if I get the IVs in quick enough, then it does prevent me from being so sick. I had a Hickman line beforehand, which is, but it's more practical because I can do it myself. There's no way of putting a needle in, it's just draw up the medication, put it in, and it's all done. But the portacath was the only option because I'd had so many Hickman lines and my body was rejecting them. Eventually I do want to get a Hickman line again because I'm too independent and too stubborn to let other people do it, and I have to be able to treat myself, because at the end of the day, if I want to move out and have a normal life, then it will only be me and my partner who can do it.
A Hickman line may remain in place for extended periods and used when long-term intravenous access is needed. Insertion involves 2 incisions, one at the jugular vein and one on the chest wall. Potential complications include hemorrhaging, collapse of the lung, thrombosis, or infection at later stages.
A Hickman line is it's like a white tube about this much is outside of the body. It's not very thick, and it just goes into the main veins in your heart. So mine went into my right jugular, and it's just basically something that you can give quick IV access if you have normal cannulas. Eventually your veins run out and they collapse and you get scar tissue.
We are actively looking at new ways forward. We're looking at ways of finding better treatments, ideally to try and prevent the problems in the first place.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop, it'll soon be here. It'll be better than before. Yesterday's gone, yesterday's gone. Why not think about the times to come, and not about the things that you've done? If your life was bad to you, just think what tomorrow will do. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow.